Michael Jordan, Roger Federer, Floyd Mayweather, Lionel Messi. All masters of their respective crafts, each man acting as examples of the merits of both God-given ability and the successful pursuit of achieving one's potential. These are the benchmarks. In this day and age, greatness is undeniably measured up against these athletes. And yet, in the case of Jon Jones, arguably the greatest example of a mixed martial artist we've ever seen, I believe that he stands as an anomaly among these other names. In order to understand the generational talent that is Jon Jones, I believe that attention must be given to his earliest days in the sport and the path he took towards establishing himself as the pound-for-pound king. Jon's initial ascent as a mixed martial artist was completely and utterly defined by his recklessness and his willingness to make a point of doing exactly that which you should not do. Entering the sport as an untested but remarkably athletic 20-year-old, Jones racked up 6 victories in exactly 3 months before signing with the UFC in August of 2008. To generate that type of momentum was impressive in its own right, but upon watching his UFC debut against Andre Guzmão, it honestly struck me just how fearless this young man was. In the commentary booth, Joe Rogan was quick to draw attention to Jon's awkward and rudimentary striking, voicing his awe at the fact that we were watching him make this step into the spotlight just 9 months after first setting foot in an MMA gym.
Yeah, you can't give a guy any space whatsoever when you got him in that position. And Jones, you see the punching techniques?
And he likes the uppercut too.
It's very rudimentary striking by Jones.
Body shot.
But this was no ordinary man, and as much as Rogan was correct in highlighting Jones's clear inexperience, he was left just as shocked as the rest of us when this MMA neophyte flipped the script and incorporated spinning back fists and flying knees into his attack. Even with the limited information that we had about Jones at this time, his status as an elite-level Greco-Roman wrestler was enough to make us expect that he would lean on his strengths at this point. And yet, less than a year into this journey, Jon was not willing to play it safe. He was not willing to trust in the natural progression of his overall skill set. He wanted to stand there and express himself through his offense, and that's exactly what he did. Slowly, from there, we started to see Jon Jones for what he was. That fearless determination to succeed is something that he shares with the Jordans, the Mayweathers, and the Messis of the world. You can call him brash and you can call him reckless, but I personally believe that Jon Jones is an example of an almost hyper level of ambition sent into overdrive. Jon's road to the title is a truly astonishing watch. I cannot recall witnessing a more compelling evolution within this sport than the one that began with Andre Guzmão and ended with Shogun Rua. For in those fights, where dipping his toe in to test the waters would have been advisable, Jones dive-bombed in from the highest point he could find, and, if you'd forgive the water pun, managed to cause an almighty splash in the process. The recklessness that people rightly note as Jon's biggest weakness has undeniably also been his greatest strength over the years. But the truly shocking part, and the thing that sets him clear of other sporting greats, is that there is a very good chance that Jon Jones never has, and perhaps never will, reach his full potential. And that's where it gets interesting. That drive to beat fighters at their own game, that desire to express himself in the purest, most unique manner possible. It's the strength that has catapulted him to his highest moments, and it's the weakness that has defined some of his lowest lows in the public eye. I've seen quite a number of people wonder whether Jon Jones could be Jon Jones if not for this one fatal flaw, and in truth, we may never know. But when a man so wild and extreme in his approach to fighting is found driving drunk with a gun in his hand during an international lockdown, it paints a pretty vivid picture about the type of man he is. For Jones has been both a bringer of and a magnet for chaos during his time in the sport. And while it's hard for us to know if he would have been as successful as he is now if he were a more measured and methodical man, I believe that that question in itself makes him an anomaly among his fellow greats. With that being said, I do hope that Jon Jones gets the help and support he needs at this point, because for all of the ups and downs we've followed him through, his life and career have been nothing less than extraordinary thus far. Now, with his personal life once again colliding with his professional, and the contenders now seemingly within arm's reach, perhaps the greatest challenge of all in Jon Jones' story is one that still lies before him.